the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So the iPhone 11 Pro Max came out Friday, about almost a week ago, and here is what I think about it in this initial review. First, let's talk about the aesthetics of the phone. How does it look like? What's new about it? This year, Apple decided to do away with glossy and introduce a finish many might have missed: frosted glass. Now, we didn't have frosted glass before, but we did have aluminum, and by the looks of it, they look pretty identical. It was said that frosted glass is supposed to be more slip resistant, but awkwardly enough, I found it to be the exact opposite. I actually found myself almost dropping the phone much more frequently than the standard glass back. But a simple case from Rhinoshield, it's a bumper case, it helps solve that issue. You still got to touch the phone, you get to feel that new frosted glass, but it adds 11 feet of drop protection, and it looks pretty cool. Now, when we flip the phone over, we see a familiar face. The face that we've seen before, a wonderful face. It's safe to say not much has changed from the front of the iPhone, but Apple, as they added this super cool terminology, and now they're calling it the Retina Display XDR. It just sounds awesome. But is it really? After all, they're naming it after their monitor, which costs as much as a used Honda Civic. It better be good, right? Don't listen to the technical aspects, guys. The iPhone 11 Pro Max, Optimus Prime, the display is wonderful. I have nothing against the display of this phone. It is super bright, it is nice and color accurate. The colors pop just as they should. It's a good display. But the difference between the XS Max and the iPhone 11 Pro Max display is almost unrecognizable. Is the Pro Max maybe a little bit brighter out in the sunlight? Yeah. But unless you have the two phones to compare, you're not really gonna notice, because I didn't even notice. In fact, if Apple didn't even mention the brightness increase, I wouldn't have noticed. Don't get me wrong, again, it is a wonderful screen. It's super color accurate and gives you a very nice experience whether you're playing games, watching HDR content, or just swiping back and forth on a home screen, figuring out if you should be studying or playing Mario Kart. Personally, I would choose Mario Kart. Now, the thing that surprised me the most is apparently the technology inside the Note 10 Plus display is apparently very close to or the same as the technology inside the iPhone 11 Pro Max display. I think the Note 10 Plus looks better. I thought it was just me at first, so I asked a couple of my coworkers, a couple of friends, a couple of family members, and they all kind of agreed that the Note 10 Plus display just looks better. But if you guys have seen the phone side by side, what do you think? I want to hear your opinions. Leave your comments down below. Now let's talk about the thing that Apple talked about the most: the cameras. It does the job, and I'm super happy Apple implemented it into the iPhone. As their first ultra-wide lens, I'm pretty happy with the outcome. Now, it's not as sharp as I would like it to be, but to be honest, even the most professional cameras with professional ultra-wide lenses, even they are on the bit of the soft side, at least if you compare it to the normal wide angle, which is roughly 24 millimeters. Now, being that the ultra-wide camera on the iPhone 11 Pro Max is at 13 millimeters, I'm not shocked that it's soft, but I wish, with all that fancy AI tech going on inside the phone with its new A13 processor, I just wish that they could have been a little more sharper post. This year with the iPhone 11 Pro Max, Apple has finally introduced night mode. Is it as bright as other implementations of night mode in other phones? No. But is it supposed to be? I don't think so. See, in my opinion, night mode is supposed to keep the mood. It's supposed to keep the colors of the night life. But more importantly, the iPhone 11 Pro Max keeps better detail than even the S10 Plus, the Note 10 Plus, or even the Pixel 3a. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I would definitely take sharp photos during the night over bright, not so sharp photos during the night any day of the week, or any night of the week. The iPhone 11 Pro does a fantastic job by keeping the overall mood of the night, keeping the color accurate to the surroundings, and keeps details nice and sharp. I just kind of wish Apple implemented night mode into the front-facing camera. After all, I think the A13 can handle it, right? Now, the video capabilities of this year's iPhones is, I'll just go ahead and say it. It's the best. Now you get 4K 60 across all 4 lenses, where I'm talking about the wide, the ultra wide, the telephoto, and the front facing camera. All of them do 4K 60. Not even the Note 10 does that. I don't think any phone does that. And it just looks amazing. It honestly looks mind-blowing. My problem with the XS Max of last year is if you wanted to do 4K 60, you're gonna be losing stabilization and you're gonna be losing extended dynamic range. But that new A13 chip, it doesn't care. It rips 4K 60 apart. The 3 lenses on the back record 4K 60 with extended dynamic range and amazing gimbal-like stabilization like nothing. The front-facing camera, on the other hand, if you choose to do 4K 60, it doesn't do extended dynamic range. If you want that, you're gonna have to go down to 4K 30, but I'll take it. I am working on a Note 10 Plus versus iPhone 11 Pro Max video test, so if you guys are curious and wanna see it, subscribe. And make sure you have notifications on so you can spam first when the video comes out. Now let's talk about the new and improved Face ID. Do I notice a difference? No. But is that a bad thing? Of course not. That means even previous year's iPhones did a fantastic job with Face ID. iOS 13 in general makes Face ID 30% faster, so even if you have the iPhone 10 from 2017 or the iPhone XS from last year, you're still gonna be getting a speed boost and just overall reliability improvements. Speaking of reliability, it's great. Out of the almost week that I've had this phone with hundreds of unlocks, I haven't had any problems whatsoever. It just works. Face ID is a great system that just works in the background. You don't have to make sure you're pressing somewhere on the screen like a fingerprint sensor. You don't have to really do anything. You just lift the phone up and swipe up. It's great, it's secure, it's fast. I think Face ID and any other 3D unlock is the best. No one can change my mind about that. It is just the convenience factor is there. It beats everything else, which is why bezels aren't always a bad thing. Notches, on the other hand, that's just something you gotta either give or take. You know, you can't have the best of everything, not until we figure out how to put that technology under the display. But for now, if you want a bezel or a notch that's actually functional, well, you're gonna be pretty happy because it actually does involve some cool tech. Like for example, the upcoming Pixel 4, which will also have 3D face unlock, and it will have some weird kind of awesome radar sensor thing. This is so professional. Like I said, Face ID works in the background, and so does the A13 chip. This is a double-edged sword for me, and for most. The A13 chip is so incredibly powerful that unfortunately, you can't really use it. You can't really see the power. It just is. It's there in the background. And that's a good thing, but for others, it's also a bad thing. Now, hear me out. Even my teeny tiny Pixel 3a with its adorable Snapdragon 670 processor feels powerful. It can do multitasking. It can do picture-in-picture on Netflix, YouTube, any other sort of video service that allows it. Is the Snapdragon 670 much slower than the A13 chip? 100%. You cannot even compare them. But with the help of Android, you feel like you're getting that power. You feel like you're using that power, even though there really isn't any power to begin with. At least on the Snapdragon 670, that is. On the other hand, the iPhone A13 is so incredibly powerful. You can't even comprehend it, but you can't really see it. Everything is just kind of happening in the background. The screen is definitely big enough to do picture-in-picture or split-screen multitasking, but Apple at the moment doesn't really allow it. The A13 chip does a lot of stuff in the background, like I said. It does video processing, photo processing, night photography, system stability, system smoothness, and 5 years of OS updates. The A13 chip is also responsible for gaming and even the A12 and any one before that, which is why most games on the iPhone just run smoother than compared to on Android. But I'm not particularly a huge gamer, so for me that particular reason just doesn't really matter. The one thing that confuses me about the Apple Pro series of phones is that they still have 4 gigs of RAM. Apple upgraded the RAM from the XR to the 11, but not from the XS to the Pro? Now listen, you can say anything you want about iOS and system stability and everything along those lines, but even in today's standards, even in last year's standards, 4 gigs is just not enough. I notice a huge difference between, between my S10 Plus with 8 gigs of RAM, not to mention my Note 10 Plus with 12 gigs of RAM compared to the 4 gigabytes of RAM on the iPhone 11 Pro Max. I noticed apps relaunching much often. I noticed Safari tabs having to reload more often. You just start to really notice it after you come from a phone that has more gigs of RAM. Now, I will give Apple a point. Apple's RAM is actually faster than the RAM on the Note 10 Plus and even the S10 Plus. But let me know what you guys would rather have. Would you guys rather have more RAM but slightly slower, or less RAM but slightly faster? We were all expecting 6 gigabytes of RAM on the Pro series of phones. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. We also didn't get bilateral wireless charging. We didn't get Apple Pencil support. We didn't get USB-C, and yeah. But that is coming next year, hopefully. Right? The iPhone 11 Pro is Apple's best iteration of iPhone. With new looks, new upgraded CPU and GPU, brighter display, and a majorly upgraded camera system. But at the end of the day, guys, it's still an iPhone, running a closed-off operating system. It's a comfy operating system, it's a familiar operating system, but it's still iPhone. Now, what do you guys think about this year's iPhones? Are you gonna pick it up? Are you gonna skip out on it? Are you gonna get the 2020 iPhone? I'm kind of curious. I want to hear your opinions down below. This was Mark from Mark's Tech. Adios.